Stop, be still, my beloved child. Do not scroll past these words, for I am speaking to you now. This moment is not an accident, nor is it coincidence that these words have found you. I have ordered your steps to arrive here, because I see the weight you have carried. The nights you have spent wrestling with questions that linger in the silence, and the weariness that rests on your shoulders. You have wondered why the journey feels so misunderstood, why the road you walk often feels lonely, why you must walk in silence, in discipline, and in alignment that costs you more than others seem to understand. Hear me now. Life as my chosen one is not ordinary. You are set apart, and the path you walk requires more from you, because more has been placed within you. But I must warn you, my child, there are certain habits that the world calls small, that stand as heavy barriers between you and my voice. These patterns cloud your spiritual ears and make it hard for you to hear the whispers of my spirit. They keep you chasing noise instead of resting in my stillness. And for one who is called to higher purpose, they are not just distractions, they are dangerous obstacles. Yet hear my promise. When you let go of what blinds and binds you, your discernment will sharpen, your spirit will grow stronger, and my voice will flow into your life with clarity, peace, and direction that cannot be denied. This word has come to you at the exact time you needed it most. Do not let it pass by. If your spirit knows this is divine alignment, type 777 in the comments as a declaration of your readiness and as a sign that blessings are flowing into your life. Share this message with someone who needs my voice in their storm. And subscribe to remain connected, for I will keep speaking, and I do not want you to miss what comes next. Now listen carefully, for I am about to uncover the 9 habits you must quit if you desire to hear me clearly. Number 1, overthinking. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about the first habit that clouds your ears and makes it difficult for you to hear my voice clearly. I want you to listen with your heart as much as your mind, because this is not just a lesson of thought. It is a matter of your spirit. You have often wondered why, in the quiet moments, you do not always feel me near. You have asked why my voice seems faint, why direction feels clouded, why peace sometimes slips through your fingers. And I tell you now with clarity, one of the greatest barriers between you and the sound of my whisper is the storm of your own overthinking. Hear me well. My voice is not loud, nor is it harsh. I do not speak in chaos or confusion. I come to you in simplicity, in gentleness, in the steady flow of peace. But when you overthink, when you crowd your mind with endless analysis, doubts, and fearful what-if scenarios, you raise the volume of your own thoughts so high that you cannot hear me. It is as if you have taken the dial of your mind and turned it all the way up, while I continue to speak softly, steadily, and lovingly. My words are present, but they are drowned beneath the noise you create. You have felt this before. Nights when you could not sleep because your mind ran in circles, trying to prepare for every outcome, trying to plan for every possibility, trying to control what you were never designed to carry. You thought that by rehearsing every detail you were being responsible. But in truth, you were exhausting yourself and closing your ears to me. I did not call you to live in constant tension. I did not create you to bear the weight of outcomes you cannot control. My word has already told you, lean not on your own understanding, but trust me with all your heart, and I will make your path straight. Overthinking whispers to you that if you do not calculate everything, you will miss something. It convinces you that productivity comes from endless planning, that safety comes from anticipating every possible danger. But that is a lie, and you know it, because all it has ever given you is weariness, anxiety, and confusion. My child, you cannot overthink your way into peace. You cannot reason yourself into certainty. Peace comes only when you rest in me, when you trust that I already know the way ahead. Understand this. Overthinking is not harmless. It is not a small habit that you can tolerate. It is a thief. It steals your joy, it drains your strength, and it blinds you to the gentle guidance I long to give you. It is like trying to listen to a soft, steady melody while 1,000 drums are beating all around you. No matter how hard you strain, you cannot hear the song because the noise overwhelms it. So it is with your spirit. My whisper is there, but you drown it with the endless noise of your own fears and doubts. I am not asking you to abandon wisdom. I am not asking you to walk blindly without thought. Wisdom is my gift to you, and planning with diligence has its place. But there is a difference between wise stewardship and anxious striving. Wisdom consults me, leans into my presence, and then rests in faith. Overthinking leaves me out of the equation, tries to grasp control, and collapses beneath the weight of burdens you were never meant to carry. When you let overthinking rule you, you trade my still waters for your restless storm. I want you to remember this. Surrender is not weakness. It is not passivity. Surrender is strength, because it is the act of placing what you cannot control into the hands of the one who controls all things. When you surrender the illusion of control, when you release the false belief that you can plan your way into peace, you create space for me to step in. You open your spirit to my timing, which is always perfect. You let go of your endless questioning, and in return you find the simplicity of faith, the beauty of obedience, and the calm assurance that I am leading you. Do you see how much energy you waste when you overthink? Hours spent chasing possibilities that never come to pass. Days consumed by worry over things I had already promised to handle. All the while, my whisper was there, offering peace. But you could not hear it because your storm was louder. I am not angry with you for this. I see your striving, I know the fears that drive it. But I want you to choose differently. I want you to lay down the burden of analysis and allow me to guide you one step at a time. Think of it this way. When you release overthinking, you clear the clutter from your inner room. Imagine your heart as a sacred space. When it is filled with restless questions and imagined fears, there is no room for my voice to dwell. But when you sweep it clean through surrender, when you quiet the noise through trust, suddenly, my whisper becomes clear. My spirit is not found in the whirlwind of your doubt, but in the stillness of your faith. Even my son, Jesus, walked with this truth. He did not live by endless calculation. He rested in my will, trusted my timing, and obeyed my leading even when it led him into the wilderness or onto the cross. If he, the very Son of God, chose to trust rather than overthink, how much more should you? I tell you now, beloved, your anxious thoughts are not your companions. They are not your safety net. They are chains. And today, I am inviting you to break free. Stop rehearsing failures that have not happened. Stop writing tragedies in your mind that I never authored. Stop assuming you must figure out every step before you take the first one. I am already in your tomorrow. I have already gone ahead of you. I have prepared the path, and I will make a way where there seems to be no way. But you will not see it if your eyes are fixed on your fears instead of on me. So what must you do? First, surrender. Speak to me honestly, admit your fears, and then lay them down. Tell me, Lord, I trust you even when I do not understand. Second, create silence. Do not fill every hour with noise, every moment with distraction. Let there be spaces where your mind is still, your heart is open, and my spirit can speak. And third, choose obedience over endless questioning. There are times I will call you to move without explaining every detail. Do not delay my leading with your demands for certainty. Step forward in faith, and you will find my provision meeting you there. When you begin to practice this, you will notice the change. The storm within you will calm. The anxiety that once gripped your heart will loosen its hold. My voice will no longer feel faint and far away. Instead, you will hear it in the stillness, in the simplicity, in the quiet peace that settles deep within your soul. That is where I dwell, and that is where I speak. Do not despise the small beginnings of silence. Do not rush past the moments when I am training your spirit to wait. Every time you resist the urge to overthink, you are building a new pathway in your heart, one that leads directly to my presence. And as you walk it more and more, you will find that my voice becomes clearer, my guidance becomes steadier, and my peace becomes your constant companion. This is the freedom I long to give you. Freedom from the tyranny of your own thoughts. Freedom from the false burden of control. Freedom from the lie that your safety depends on your calculations. I am your safety. I am your wisdom. I am your peace. And when you let go of overthinking, you will find that I have been speaking all along, waiting for you to quiet the storm so that you could finally hear me. So my child, listen closely now. Quit the habit of overthinking. Quit the cycle of doubt and endless what-ifs. Quit the exhausting chase for control that was never yours to begin with. Rest in me. Trust my timing and allow my whisper to guide you. For in the stillness, you will find me. And in my voice, you will find the peace you have been longing for all your life. Number 2, surrounding yourself with negative people. My beloved child, now that I have spoken to you about the noise within, the storm of overthinking, I must now turn your eyes to the noise without, the voices that surround you. For just as your own thoughts can drown out the sound of my whisper, so too can the company you keep distort the clarity of your spirit. You were never meant to walk hand in hand with every voice that crosses your path. Nor were you designed to receive every influence as if it were harmless. Hear me. The people you allow close to your life shape the atmosphere of your spirit. Energy is contagious, and those you draw near to either lift you closer to me or weigh you down with burdens I never placed upon you. Understand this. Not every smile hides purity. Not every word carries life. And not every companion is aligned with the destiny I have placed within you. Negative people may look harmless in the world's eyes, but in the spiritual realm, they are pollutants. They drain your strength, plant seeds of doubt, stir up fear, and expose you to words and actions that clash with my truth. Their presence may appear subtle at first, like a whisper of complaint or a casual word of criticism, but slowly their energy seeps into your soul. Before long, you find their voices echoing louder than mine, and the certainty of what I once told you becomes clouded by their questions, their gossip, their fear. I remind you now of what my word has already said. Bad company corrupts good character. This is not merely a warning about morals. It is a revelation of how the Spirit works. When you sit too long in the company of those who mock, complain, and despise what is holy, their atmosphere clings to you like smoke. Their words linger in your ears, and their attitudes weigh on your heart. My child, you cannot expect to soar like an eagle if you continually nest among crows. You cannot expect to hear the clear frequency of my Spirit if you surround yourself with the static of negativity. Some of you have wondered why you struggle to hear me even when you pray. You ask why clarity seems far from you, why peace feels fleeting. Yet you do not notice how quickly you run back into the noise of people who speak against the very faith you are trying to build. You absorb their fear. You carry their complaints. You rehearse their criticisms, and then you wonder why my whisper feels distant. It is not that I have stopped speaking. It is that your spirit has been clouded by the voices you have allowed to fill the air around you. I tell you plainly, your circle matters. Who you give access to your ears has power over your heart. And who has power over your heart has influence over your faith. If you continually open the door to negativity, you will soon find it harder and harder to believe what I have promised you. The voices of doubt will sound more familiar than the sound of my assurance. The atmosphere of fear will feel more natural than the atmosphere of peace. And in that confusion, the voice of the enemy grows louder, while mine grows faint, not because I am silent, but because you have turned the volume of others higher than the volume of my Spirit. You must be intentional with who walks with you. Separation is not cruelty. It is necessity for your elevation. I did not call you to blend with every crowd or to please every circle. I set you apart for a purpose, and with that purpose comes the call to guard your spirit. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Some are assigned only for a season, and others not at all. But if you insist on carrying every companion along, even those who poison your peace, you will never climb into the heights I have prepared for you. Do not misunderstand me. I do not ask you to hate, for love is my command. But there is a difference between loving all and inviting all into the inner chambers of your life. Love can bless from a distance, while protection guards the sacred space of your spirit. When you allow negativity constant access, you are opening the door of your heart to contamination. You are permitting toxins to circulate in what should be the sanctuary of my presence. I want you to see what happens when you step back from such company. When you create distance from negativity, you will notice how your spirit begins to rise. Your peace will multiply. Your mind will grow clearer. And suddenly, my voice will no longer feel hidden. It will not be that I started speaking more. It will be that the noise once muffling me has been removed. Just as a room feels fresher when polluted air is cleared, so does your spirit feel lighter when toxic influences are released. My child, I am calling you to a higher level of alignment. You cannot carry everyone with you into the places I am taking you. You cannot hear my whisper clearly if you continue to sit at the tables of those who scorn it. Sometimes, elevation requires separation. Sometimes, hearing me requires choosing solitude with me over company with the wrong crowd. And though it may hurt, though it may feel lonely at times, you will discover that your spirit was never meant to be filled by the approval of others, but by the fullness of my presence. I know it is not easy. Some of the negative voices belong to people you love, to companions you have known for years. To step back may feel like betrayal. But understand this: Protecting your spirit does not mean you cease to care. It means you honor the destiny I have placed within you. And if they are meant to rise, they too will respond to my call. But you cannot remain in bondage to their atmosphere while I am calling you to freedom. This is your choice today. Will you keep tolerating the voices that drain you? Or will you guard the sanctuary of your soul so you may hear me more clearly? Will you allow the complaints of others to shape your faith? Or will you choose to protect your ears so my truth can anchor you? Remember this always. The circle you keep determines the clarity you walk in. So take courage, draw healthy boundaries, seek out companions who encourage faith, who breathe life, who remind you of my promises when the world grows dark. And when you cannot find them, know that I am enough. For even if you walk alone for a season, you are never truly alone, because I am with you. In that solitude, you will learn to hear me with a sharpness you did not know before. In that separation, you will rise to the level I have destined for you. Protect your spirit, my child. Guard your atmosphere. Do not be afraid to let go of what pulls you down, for in letting go, you make room for me to lift you up. The moment you distance yourself from negativity, the frequency of heaven becomes clearer. The peace of my spirit multiplies, and suddenly you will hear my whisper with a clarity that cannot be denied. It is not that I had been absent before. It is that now your ears are free from the fog. This is the truth I leave with you. You are not called to fit in with everyone. You are called to walk with me. And walking with me requires that you be selective about who walks beside you. Release the negative, embrace the pure, and you will discover that my guidance flows more freely than ever, for I am speaking always. But you will only hear as clearly as the company you choose allows you to. Number 3, clinging to the past. My beloved child, having cleared the air of those who pollute your spirit, now listen as I speak about another weight many carry, the weight of yesterday. The voice I give you is always pointing forward. It is a compass toward what I am doing next, not an anchor holding you to what has already passed. Yet I see how often you replay old scenes in your mind, how you replay mistakes, heartbreaks, failures, and regrets, as if by rehearsal you might change the outcome. You turn the past into a constant soundtrack that drowns the living word. I speak to you now. I am calling you out of that habit, for the past shapes you, but it must not be allowed to lead you. My voice moves in the present, and I invite you to step into the direction I set before you. When you cling to what has been, you carry unnecessary loads that were never meant to define you. The more you rehearse what hurt you, the heavier your spirit grows, and the air in which my voice moves becomes thick with repeating ghosts. Imagine trying to listen to a living voice while you play a recording of yesterday at full volume. No matter how ardently you lean in, the present is drowned by the past. This is why I say, the past shapes you, but it does not have authority to lead you. Only I hold the authority to name your true identity and to steer your steps. Do not let your history louder than my direction. I know the wounds you carry are real and deep, and I do not minimize the price you have paid. The scars are testimonies to battles fought, and I honor every tear you have shed. Yet holding on to yesterday keeps you from the fullness of the life I am offering. When you clutch the past because it feels familiar, because it seems safer than stepping into the unknown, you choose counterfeit comfort over the risky grace of trust. Healing begins the moment you lay those memories down before me, not to forget, but to reassign their power. Forgiveness is the gateway to that healing, and forgiveness begins within you. Begin by forgiving yourself for what you wished had been different. Free your hands from the weight of if only. Then release others from the power they hold over your heart. Forgiving is not excusing, it is untethering. Say to me, Lord, I give you my yesterday, and mean it. Entrust those broken chapters to me, for I am a God who redeems ruins and designs purpose from what once seemed wasted. In giving me your past, you give me the room to transform it. Do not confuse release with forgetting. Forgetting is not required for freedom, but surrender is. You do not erase history, you reassign its authority. Where once your past dictated your identity, now let my voice reclaim that place. Your story has been written by many hands, but the final author is me. And when you hand me the ledger of your life, I begin to write with redeemed ink. The future I prepare for you will not be defined by the mistakes behind you, for I am more concerned with who you are becoming than with what you have suffered. Step out of the habit of replaying failures. Each time your mind rewinds to an old hurt, intentionally breathe and redirect your thoughts toward my truth. Speak aloud the words I have spoken over you. Declare that your past will no longer prescribe your future. Make small daily acts of surrender, a quiet offering of memories that seek to rule you, and watch how the burden lightens. As you practice this, your spiritual ears clear and you begin to hear the present more distinctly. The whisper that once seemed distant becomes near enough to follow. There is wisdom in remembering without remaining. Draw lessons from yesterday, let them sharpen and humble you, but refuse to live under their sentence. Let gratitude rise for what they taught you, and let hope rise for what I will do next. Growth is not measured by how long you struggled, but by your willingness to move forward in obedient faith. When your feet step into my timing and your hands release the baggage of old hurts, I will meet you with open provision and tender guidance that fits the new path I am readying for you. I also call you to practical acts of freedom. Write down the memories that haunt you, then speak to each and say, I release you. Pray for those who wounded you, not to condone what was done, but to free your heart from bitterness. Seek pockets of silence where my voice may reintroduce you to your true identity apart from the narrative of failure. Surround yourself with reminders of my promises, scripture, declarations, and songs that anchor you in truth. And allow community to help carry what you cannot yet carry alone. Small disciplines lead to lasting change. Practice these disciplines consistently, beloved, for freedom is cultivated over time. Each morning, offer a brief surrender of one memory that seeks to bind you. Each evening, name one truth of mine that outshines yesterday. When regret pulls, stand and declare a scripture that fortifies your heart. Let the habit of surrender displace the habit of replaying. Invite others into honest prayer so the burden becomes lighter and your steps grow firmer. There are seasons of remembering and seasons of release, and you will find peace when you choose the latter more often. Do not fear that releasing the past will erase your testimony. Your testimony is not the pain itself, but the transformation that came through it. When you hand me the broken pieces, I will use them to build a testimony that points to my power, not merely your hurt. The trials you once feared will become the furnace that refined your faith. And from that refining, you will step into purpose with a compassion and authority only produced by what you endured. In time, those scars will be the seams through which my light shines most clearly. Hear me. The present is the only place from which I speak. I do not dwell in what has been. I dwell in what is and what shall be. If you insist on living in yesterday, you will miss the invitations of today. I am always preparing a next step, a new scene that requires your attention and courage. Do not allow old tapes to play while a new song is being written for you. Lean into my timing, for I am patient and intentional, and I will ensure the next chapter unfolds at the right moment as you move in faith. Do not grow weary. Persistent surrender reshapes destiny. Over time, the echoes of old wounds will dim, and my present voice will fill the rooms of your soul with clarity, courage, and a new song that advances you into your appointed call. Believe and obey. You are called forward into the fullness I ordained for you, and I will be with you every step of the way. Number 4, neglecting rest and silence. My beloved child, I have spoken to you of the burdens of the past and the necessity of release. Now I turn your heart toward another obstacle that so often dulls your ability to hear me: the neglect of rest and silence. Many of you have believed a lie, that to pause is to waste time, that to rest is to fall behind, that silence is emptiness. But I tell you the truth. Rest is not laziness, it is alignment. Silence is not absence. It is the sacred space where my whisper is heard most clearly. You were not created to run endlessly without renewal. You were formed to walk with me in rhythm, in balance, in the holy cadence of work and stillness. When you despise rest, you despise the very gift that restores your soul and tunes your heart to my frequency. This age glorifies constant motion. The culture around you lifts up the hustle, praises endless productivity, and measures your worth by how much you accomplish in a day. Yet in that constant striving, you lose sight of the deeper truth. You are not machines designed to produce without pause. You are my children, created in my image, meant to carry my spirit. And I have woven into your being the divine necessity of rest. The world will tell you that stopping means weakness, but I tell you that stopping means strength, because it is in stillness that you remember who I am. Be still and know that I am God. These words are not mere suggestion. They are the very command by which you realign yourself to my presence. When you neglect silence, you rob your soul of its chance to recharge. You crowd your schedule with tasks and noise until there is no space left for me to speak. You fill your hours with distraction, with constant input from the world, with voices competing for your attention. And then you wonder why my direction feels faint. The problem is not that I am silent. The problem is that you have not stopped long enough to hear. My whispers are not shouted over chaos. They are breathed into quiet hearts that make room for me. Consider this. Trying to hear me without silence is like trying to tune into a radio station while speeding through static at full pace. No matter how hard you strain, the signal will always be muffled. But when you slow down, when you pull aside and still yourself, suddenly the frequency becomes clear, the words sharp, the message undeniable. That is what happens when you honor silence. You give your spirit the stillness it needs to align with my spirit. And in that place, you finally hear the gentle direction I have been speaking all along. Even my son Jesus understood the sacredness of rest. Though multitudes pressed upon him, though crowds demanded his presence, he often withdrew into quiet places to pray. He chose solitude with me over constant engagement with the world. He demonstrated that even in a life filled with divine purpose, rest and silence were not optional. They were essential. If the Son of God valued silence, how much more must you? If he, who carried the fullness of my spirit, still sought quiet communion with me, how much more must you carve out time to retreat, to be still, to hear? Rest is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of alignment. In rest, you position yourself not to do nothing, but to receive everything. In silence, you are not idle. You are receptive. You are opening the doors of your heart for my spirit to breathe peace into your chaos, wisdom into your confusion, direction into your uncertainty. When you honor rest, you are declaring that you trust me enough to set aside striving. You are declaring that you know it is I who sustains you, not the endless motion of your hands. I want you to notice what happens when you do not rest. Your body weakens, your emotions fray, your spirit grows weary, and your discernment becomes dull. You may think you are accomplishing more, but in truth, you are draining the very well from which you draw. You cannot pour endlessly without being filled, and you cannot be filled if you refuse to be still. Your constant busyness becomes a thief, stealing the clarity of my voice, robbing you of the intimacy I long to share with you. But when you embrace rest, everything shifts. Your soul begins to breathe again. Your mind clears, your heart steadies, and suddenly you notice my presence in ways you had overlooked. Silence becomes the fertile soil where my whispers take root. Rest becomes the holy pause where your spirit hears what your busyness had drowned. You begin to notice that peace is not something you manufacture. It is something you receive when you stop long enough to let me give it. Do not let the world shame you for pausing. Do not believe that constant hustle is the only way to move forward. In truth, stepping back often moves you further than relentless striving ever could. For in your resting, I am working. In your stillness, I am aligning. While you pause, I am preparing the path ahead, so that when you rise again, you rise with clarity, with focus, with renewed strength that comes not from yourself, but from me. Practice this daily. Set aside moments not to fill with words, but to sit in my presence. Let your prayers include silence where you simply listen. Let your schedule include hours where you step away from the noise. Create rhythms of retreat, short pauses each day, deeper Sabbaths each week, seasons of reflection as I lead you. Follow the pattern my Son gave you. Withdraw, realign, return. In this rhythm you will find balance. In this rhythm you will find clarity. As you do this, you will begin to notice a sharpening of your spirit. You will hear nuances in my voice that once seemed veiled. You will discern my guidance not only in great revelations, but in subtle nudges, in gentle impressions, in the quiet assurance that settles into your soul. This is how I train you to walk closely with me, not by overwhelming you with noise, but by teaching you to hear my still small voice. Beloved, I do not want you burned out. I do not want you running on fumes, confusing exhaustion for obedience. I want you whole, aligned, at peace. I want you to walk in strength that comes from rest, not from strain. I want you to be so tuned to my spirit that the whispers of heaven are clearer than the shouts of earth. That clarity comes not in more doing, but in more being. With me, in silence, in rest, in communion. So I say to you now, quit neglecting rest and silence. Quit running without pause. Quit filling every space with noise and every hour with striving. Rest is not a waste of time. It is an offering of trust. Silence is not emptiness. It is the holy ground where I speak. When you honor these, you will discover that I have been speaking all along, waiting for you to quiet your life enough to hear. In that stillness, you will find my presence closer than your breath. And in that rest, you will find the peace and clarity you have been longing for. This is my promise. If you will honor rest, I will renew you. If you will embrace silence, I will fill you. If you will stop chasing the noise of this world. You will begin to notice the steady sound of my voice guiding you step by step. For I am not found in the whirlwind of your busyness, nor in the chaos of your striving, but in the quiet assurance of still waters and green pastures. There I restore your soul. There I speak to you with unmistakable clarity. There I remind you that you are mine. Therefore come away with me. Step into the stillness. Honor the sacred rhythm of rest. For when you do, your ears will sharpen, your spirit will align, and my whisper will no longer feel distant but near, guiding you, comforting you, and preparing you for the greater things yet to come. Number 5, over-reliance on majority opinions. My beloved child, now that I have shown you the power of rest and silence, let me draw your heart to another barrier that clouds your hearing of my voice. It is the danger of leaning too heavily on the opinions of men. You were created to walk in fellowship with others, but you were not created to let their voices outweigh mine. I do not forbid counsel, nor do I despise wisdom shared among my children, but I warn you with urgency. When you place the weight of human approval above the weight of my word, you will drift from the path of your destiny. For the voices of men are loud, persuasive, and ever-changing, but my voice is steady, eternal, and true. You have felt this tension before. The words of others come to you with force. They carry logic, argument, and even the appearance of care. Yet what seems persuasive can still be hollow, and what sounds wise can still mislead. My voice is not dressed in manipulation or bound by the changing tides of culture. My voice carries life, stability, and assurance that does not shift with the seasons. But when you allow insecurity to rule you, when your need for approval becomes your compass, you begin to confuse the noise of man with the whisper of your God. This insecurity, this hunger for validation, is the root of the problem. Deep within, when you do not rest in who I say you are, you crave the confirmation of others. You seek their applause to quiet your doubts, their reassurance to calm your fears, their agreement to steady your steps. Yet their voices cannot anchor you, for they did not design you. They did not call you. They do not know the intricacies of the destiny I have written over your life. How can they lead where they cannot see? To let them direct you is to hand the wheel of your soul to one who cannot read the map. Your calling is unique. The path I have chosen for you does not mirror the path of those around you. My plan for you is not always logical, and it does not always align with what the world calls wise. Consider Noah, my servant. When I told him to build an ark, the people mocked him. They called him foolish. They scorned his obedience. They laughed at his faith. Yet Noah listened not to their derision, but to my instruction. And because he obeyed my voice above the opinions of men, he and his household were preserved while the world perished. Learn from this. The majority may sound convincing, but truth belongs to me alone. When you lean too heavily on human opinion, you risk losing sight of your purpose. Imagine this. I tell you to wait, but the people around you insist you must hurry. Whose word will you honor? Or I tell you to forgive, to release bitterness from your heart. But others urge you to hold the grudge, to cling to anger as your defense. Whose instruction will you follow? Every time you elevate their voices above mine, you drift further from the destiny I prepared. But every time you choose my word over theirs, no matter how illogical it appears, you align yourself with heaven's design. The danger of overvaluing human voices is subtle, but deadly. It does not come all at once, but gradually, like erosion of stone by dripping water. At first, you only seek a little validation. Then, without noticing, you measure every step by what others think. You delay obedience because their approval matters more than my timing. You silence convictions because their agreement feels safer than my truth. Soon, my voice becomes faint, not because I am absent, but because you have tuned your ear to another frequency. I am calling you now to a holy detachment. You must break the addiction to approval. Do not despise counsel, but do not crave it more than communion with me. Hear advice, but weigh it always against my word. Stand in the truth that the path I have given you is not up for public vote. Your destiny is not a group decision. It is my decree over your life, and it requires the courage to value my opinion above all others. This is the freedom I long to give you. The freedom to walk in obedience without the chains of fear. The freedom to follow my leading even when the world does not understand. The freedom to live for my smile rather than their applause. When you step into this, you will find that clarity returns to your soul. My voice will no longer be muffled by the din of many, but will rise steady and unmistakable. The more you prioritize my counsel over theirs, the more sensitive your ears will become to my whispers. Do not be afraid if obedience makes you look foolish. Do not tremble if your steps do not align with the logic of men. Remember Noah. Remember Abraham, who stepped out not knowing where he was going. Remember Moses, who chose to confront Pharaoh when others doubted deliverance. Each one trusted me above the multitude, and each one saw my glory revealed. So it will be with you if you refuse to let human voices outweigh mine. Therefore, my child, quit the habit of relying too much on human opinions. Quit giving their approval power over your destiny. Quit measuring your worth by their applause or your decisions by their acceptance. Stand firm in who I say you are. Root yourself in my promises. Train your ears to value my whisper above every shout, and you will discover that as you do, my guidance grows clearer, my presence grows nearer, and your path grows brighter. For I am the Lord your God. My word does not waver. My promises do not change. My counsel is not subject to the approval of men. Walk with me, listen to me, and you will find that the noise of the world fades into silence, while the voice of your Father resounds with clarity and power. This is the way of the chosen, to let my voice be louder than all others. And the more you value me above them, the more unmistakable my direction will become. This is your calling, this is your freedom, this is your destiny. Number 6, neglecting prayer and spiritual discipline. My beloved child, let us continue. I have spoken to you about silencing the pull of human opinions so that my voice may remain the loudest in your life. But now I must turn your heart toward another habit that quietly erodes your ability to hear me: the neglect of prayer and spiritual discipline. This neglect is subtle, yet it is dangerous. Because prayer is not a mere ritual, nor is it an empty tradition. Prayer is the lifeline of your spirit, the sacred cord that binds you to me. Without it, you drift. With it, you live. To treat prayer as optional is to treat life itself as optional. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Many live as though prayer is only for crisis. They call upon me when disaster strikes, when their strength is gone, when their way has crumbled beneath them. They treat me like an emergency service, dialing heaven's number only when flames consume their house. But I am not only the God of your emergencies. I am the God of your every breath. I long to walk with you, not just in the fire, but in the quiet morning, in the ordinary hour, in the still of the night. To make prayer an afterthought is to starve your soul until famine drives you to cry. But to make prayer your daily bread is to feed your spirit with constant strength. You must understand what prayer truly is. It is not simply asking for what you desire. It is alignment. It is listening. It is communion with the divine. It is the daily choosing of relationship over transaction, fellowship over formula. When you pray only to request, you reduce our relationship to a marketplace. But when you pray to align your heart with mine, you step into the holy exchange where your will is laid down and my will becomes your compass. In prayer, you do not just speak, you listen, you wait, you discern. You allow my spirit to imprint truth upon your soul until it becomes the rhythm of your life. This is why neglecting prayer dulls your discernment, just as no relationship can thrive without communication. So your bond with me weakens without the daily practice of seeking my face. Imagine trying to hear a call when your phone has long run out of power. Even if I am speaking, you will not hear, for the line is dead. That is what happens when you abandon prayer. Your spiritual battery runs empty, and though I call, your heart is too drained to receive. Consistency in prayer is not a luxury. It is the charge that keeps your spirit alive. And prayer alone is not the fullness of discipline. There are practices I have given you that sharpen your spirit and quiet your flesh. Fasting is one. When you fast, you silence the cravings of your body so that your spirit may rise more clearly to my voice. Worship is another. When you worship, you lift your focus above yourself and open your heart to the majesty of who I am. Studying my word grounds you in truth so that you can test every voice against what is eternal. These disciplines together form the framework of a spirit that stays aligned even when emotions fluctuate. Feelings will waver, seasons will shift, trials will come. But discipline keeps you anchored when the waves threaten to sweep you away. Do not confuse discipline with legalism. Discipline is not bondage, it is training. Just as a musician practices scales to play beautiful music, just as an athlete trains their body to endure the race, so must you exercise your spirit to hear clearly. Without discipline, your senses grow dull. Your focus scatters, and your ability to discern is blurred. But with discipline, you become steady, resilient, and sensitive to the smallest nudge of my spirit. You learn to recognize my whisper in the wind and my prompting in the stillness. I see how often my children neglect these disciplines, believing they will return when life is less busy, when the season calms, when they feel ready. But if you wait until you feel ready, you will never begin. If you wait until life is calm, you will never pray. Discipline is not built on convenience, but on commitment. It is forged in the choice to set aside time for me, even when the world demands more of you. It is established in the daily decision to give me your first fruits, your attention, your time, your devotion, because you know that everything else flows from me. When you honor prayer and discipline, you cultivate spiritual sensitivity. Suddenly, the small whispers of heaven become distinct. The peace of my spirit steadies you even when storms rage. Directions you once struggled to understand become clearer, and you find yourself walking with assurance rather than confusion. This is not because I began to speak more, but because you have trained your ear to hear. You have tuned your life to the right frequency. Beloved, Do not starve your spirit while feeding your flesh. Do not let the voices of distraction, entertainment, or worldly obligation drown out the lifeline of prayer. Set aside time daily. Rise with a prayer on your lips. Open my word and let it wash over your mind. Worship not just on special days, but in the rhythm of ordinary life. Fast when I call you, not as a show, but as a sacred act of alignment. And above all, guard these practices as treasure, for they are the doorway into clarity, strength, and intimacy with me. I do not demand perfection. I desire consistency. Even small acts, when offered faithfully, build into a life of depth. A short prayer spoken with sincerity is more powerful than many words spoken with distance. A quiet moment of scripture read with focus is more fruitful than hours of distracted reading. Discipline is not about volume, it is about devotion. When you give me your heart in these daily practices, I multiply their effect beyond what you can measure. You may feel at times that discipline is dry, that prayer feels routine, that worship feels ordinary. But understand this: faithfulness in routine is the soil from which revelation grows. Every moment you choose me over distraction, you are watering the roots of your soul. And in time, the fruit will come. Clarity, wisdom, strength, and the unmistakable ability to hear my voice even in the midst of chaos. This is why I urge you. Do not treat prayer as emergency service. Do not neglect the discipline that keeps you alive. See prayer as your daily breath, fasting as your sharpening, worship as your lifeline, my word as your anchor. Live this rhythm and watch as your spirit grows more sensitive, your peace grows deeper, and your path becomes clearer. For I am not far from you. I am not silent. I am always speaking, always guiding, always ready to commune. But whether you hear depends on whether you will tune your life to me. Quit neglecting prayer and discipline. Quit treating me as a last resort. Choose instead to walk with me daily, consistently, faithfully, and you will discover that my voice is not rare, but constant, not faint, but clear, not distant, but near. This is my promise. When you honor me in prayer and discipline, you will walk in peace that surpasses understanding. You will discern my whispers in ways you never imagined. You will find yourself steadied in storms, guided in confusion, and comforted in loneliness. And above all, you will know me, not as a distant God to be called in crisis, but as your Father who walks with you every moment. Remain in this place, beloved. Keep your spirit charged, keep your ears tuned, and you will never miss my voice. For I am here, and I am speaking to those who will listen. Number 7, holding on to unforgiveness. My beloved child, hear me as I continue. I have shown you how neglecting prayer and spiritual discipline weakens your spirit and dulls your sensitivity to my whisper. But now I must place before you another weight that binds many hearts and blocks my voice: the weight of unforgiveness. This is a chain heavier than most recognize, for bitterness does not simply rest in the mind. It settles in the spirit, hardening the heart and clouding the clarity of discernment. Where unforgiveness takes root, my voice is muffled, and the free flow of my spirit becomes obstructed. Unforgiveness is subtle, and yet it is poison. You may feel justified in holding on to your pain. You may think that keeping the memory close protects you from being hurt again. But in truth, bitterness binds you, not the one who wronged you. Resentment clouds your eyes so you cannot see clearly, and it dulls your ears so you cannot hear me. The more tightly you cling to your grievances, the more distant my whisper feels. Not because I have withdrawn, but because your heart has been walled in by the weight of resentment. Do not mistake forgiveness for excusing the wrong. To forgive is not to deny that pain was inflicted or to diminish the wound that cut you. Forgiveness does not erase the injustice, nor does it declare that evil was acceptable. Forgiveness is freedom. It is the act of releasing yourself from the chains of bitterness that have weighed you down and blocked your spirit. When you hold on to unforgiveness, you are like one who drinks poison while expecting the other to die. But the poison seeps into your own soul, leaving you heavy, bitter, and blind to the very peace I long to pour into you. My word has told you this clearly. When you pray, ask me to forgive your trespasses as you forgive those who trespass against you. This is not a suggestion for the faint-hearted. It is a command for those who desire intimacy with me. If you close your heart to forgiveness, you close your ears to my voice, for my spirit flows in love, peace, and truth. Unforgiveness is none of these. It is a toxin that breeds anger, fuels revenge, and hardens your spirit against the gentle leading of my whisper. I see the wounds you carry. I know the depth of the pain inflicted upon you. I do not dismiss it. I was with you when the betrayal happened. I saw the words spoken against you, the injustice done, the cruelty endured. I do not call you to pretend it did not hurt. I call you instead to release it into my hands. For justice belongs to me, and healing belongs to you. When you hold on to bitterness, you bind yourself to the offense. When you release it to me, you free yourself to walk in wholeness. Understand this. Forgiveness is not weakness. Forgiveness is not surrender to evil. Forgiveness is strength because it takes greater courage to let go than to hold on. Forgiveness is spiritual cleansing. It clears the debris from your heart so that my spirit may flow unhindered. It does not excuse the one who wronged you, but it frees you from being tied to them by chains of resentment. You may believe that holding on to anger keeps you strong, but in truth, it makes you heavy. You may believe that revenge will give you peace, but in truth, it robs you of joy. Peace is found only when you release the weight of unforgiveness and allow my love to flood in. Even my son Jesus showed you the way. On the cross, bearing wounds deeper than any human can measure, he prayed, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If he, carrying the weight of the world's sin, chose forgiveness in his moment of greatest agony, then surely I call you to walk in the same. His example is not unreachable, it is your pattern. Forgive as he forgave, and you will know the freedom that only love can bring. When you choose to forgive, your spirit becomes light. The heavy armor of bitterness falls away, and suddenly you find yourself walking with clarity and peace. Your ears become sharp again, your heart open, your discernment restored. Forgiveness makes room for love, and love is the purest channel through which I speak. My voice does not resonate in hearts filled with hatred, but it sings in hearts filled with grace. The clearer your heart, the clearer your hearing. The freer your spirit, the stronger your discernment. Do not delay this work. Each day you carry unforgiveness, the chains grow tighter. Each hour you hold resentment, the weight grows heavier. Begin now. Speak aloud the names of those you have held in your heart with anger, and release them into my hands. Pray not only for their release, but for your own. Say, Lord, I choose to forgive, even when it hurts, even when I do not feel it yet. I release them so that I may walk free. And as you do, my spirit will meet you in that place, filling the space once occupied by bitterness with my peace. It may not happen all at once. Forgiveness is often a process, a daily choice to lay down what your flesh longs to carry. But each time you choose it, the grip of bitterness weakens. Each act of forgiveness is a step toward freedom. And with each step, you hear me more clearly, feel me more deeply, walk with me more closely. For the heart that forgives is a heart that reflects mine. And in that reflection, my presence dwells. Beloved, I want you light and free. I want you unchained by the past and unbound by resentment. I want you to hear my voice with clarity, unclouded by bitterness. To achieve this, you must let go. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. Forgive, not to excuse the wrong, but to clear the channel through which my spirit speaks. Forgive, and discover that in releasing others, you release yourself. This is my promise to you. When you choose forgiveness, you step fully into your divine calling without the weight of emotional baggage. You walk into your destiny unshackled, able to hear, to discern, to follow with freedom. Forgiveness is the doorway to clarity, to intimacy, to peace that surpasses all understanding. Walk through it, and you will find me waiting on the other side, ready to guide you into the fullness of your purpose. So hear me now, my child. Quit the habit of holding on to unforgiveness. Quit carrying the poison of bitterness. Quit chaining yourself to the offenses of yesterday. Release it, and you will rise. Release it, and you will hear. Release it, and you will know what it means to live unburdened in the light of my love. Number 8, living in fear instead of faith. My beloved child, I have just spoken to you of forgiveness, of laying down the chains of bitterness so that love may flow freely in your heart. Now I must take you deeper. For there is another enemy that threatens to cloud your hearing and darken your vision. That enemy is fear. Fear stands as one of the greatest obstacles between you and my voice. For fear speaks lies that contradict my truth. Where I declare peace, fear whispers panic. Where I declare promise, fear whispers doubt. Where I declare life, fear whispers death. You cannot walk in fear and in faith at the same time, for one paralyzes while the other propels. Fear binds, but faith releases. Fear confuses, but faith clarifies. Fear is the language of the enemy, but faith is the language of my kingdom. I see how fear unsettles you. It creeps in quietly at first, wrapping its tendrils around your mind, feeding you images of what could go wrong, filling you with the weight of imagined failures. It makes your heart restless, your spirit anxious, and your thoughts unstable. You replay scenarios of loss, of rejection, of lack, until they feel more real than my promises. But hear me. Fear is a liar. It tells you that my word is uncertain, that my promises may fail, that I cannot be trusted with what matters most to you. Yet every syllable of fear is false, for I am faithful and I do not change. Faith, on the other hand, is the atmosphere where my voice resounds most clearly. Faith does not mean the absence of trembling. It means the refusal to let trembling dictate your steps. Faith chooses to act even when fear knocks loudly. Faith anchors itself not in what is seen, but in what I have spoken. It clings to my promises when circumstances scream the opposite. It says, I believe not because I see, but because he has said. Faith is steady, resolute, and unshakable, because its foundation is me, the rock that does not move. Do you see how different the fruits of fear and faith are? Fear produces worry, doubt, and confusion. It scatters your focus and robs you of peace. Faith produces confidence, peace, and assurance. It steadies your steps and quiets your heart, even in the storm. Fear leaves you paralyzed, unable to move forward. Caught in cycles of hesitation, faith compels you to move, to trust, to take hold of the next step, even when you cannot yet see the entire path. Fear looks at the storm and says, I will drown. Faith looks at the storm and says, my God still commands the waves. This is why I have said in my word, without faith it is impossible to please me, not because I am cruel, but because faith is the very bridge that connects you to my presence. Faith is the language by which your spirit aligns with mine. Fear disconnects you from hearing, but faith sharpens your ears to my whisper. When you live in fear, every sound becomes distorted. When you live in faith, my voice cuts through the noise with clarity. I do not tell you that you will never feel afraid. Fear will come knocking at the doors of your heart, for you live in a world filled with uncertainty and shadows. But what I tell you is this: you must not let fear be your guide. You must not hand the keys of your decision-making to a liar. Let fear knock, but do not let it in. Let it whisper, but do not obey. Instead, lift up the shield of faith, declare my promises, and move forward in trust. Every time you choose faith over fear, you raise your spiritual frequency to align with mine. My guidance becomes louder, clearer, and unmistakable. My spirit meets your step of faith with provision, with confirmation, with direction. The more you trust, the more you hear. The more you obey, the more I reveal. The road opens not to the one who waits until fear is gone, but to the one who steps forward in faith despite fear's voice. Consider how fear once silenced prophets, restrained kings, and hindered disciples. Fear caused Israel to tremble at the sight of giants, though I had already promised them the land. Fear caused Peter to sink when he took his eyes off my son and looked instead at the storm. But faith parted seas, toppled walls, and raised the dead. Faith allowed Abraham to journey without knowing the destination. Faith empowered David to face Goliath. Faith sustained Daniel in the lion's den. Each one felt fear, yet each one refused to let fear dictate. They chose faith, and in faith they heard my direction clearly. I am calling you into that same courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is faith's decision to move forward anyway. Every time you lift your eyes from the lies of fear and fix them on me, you step into clarity. Every time you silence the whispers of worry with the declaration of my promises, you train your spirit to discern my voice more easily. And every time you obey in faith, even trembling, you prove that your trust is not in yourself, but in me. Do not underestimate the power of small choices. Choosing faith is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is as simple as choosing peace instead of panic in the middle of the night. Sometimes it is forgiving when fear tells you that vulnerability will hurt again. Sometimes it is obeying a nudge of my spirit when logic says it makes no sense. These small acts of faith train your heart to resist fear's hold. And as you resist, fear weakens. As you trust, faith strengthens. And as faith grows, my voice resounds clearer than ever. Beloved, I am not the author of fear. Fear does not come from me. I have given you not a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Fear strips away your strength, but I have called you strong. Fear tells you that you are unloved, but I have called you mine. Fear clouds your mind, but I give you clarity. Do not trade my truth for fear's lie. Do not live as if fear has authority when it was defeated long ago. So quit the habit of living in fear. Quit letting fear dictate your choices, your words, your direction. Quit bowing to a liar when the voice of truth has already spoken. Choose instead the way of faith. Fix your heart on my promises. Anchor your mind in my word. Lift your voice in prayer and declaration when fear presses in. And watch as peace floods your heart. Clarity fills your spirit, and my guidance becomes too clear to deny. This is my promise to you. When you walk in faith, you will walk in alignment with me. You will move not in paralysis, but in purpose. You will hear my direction with certainty, and you will live with peace that fear cannot shake. Faith will open doors, break chains, and lead you into victories fear told you were impossible. And in every step of faith, you will find me waiting, guiding, sustaining, and speaking. So hear me now, my child. Do not live in fear. Live in faith. For every time you choose faith over fear, you align yourself with heaven's frequency, and my voice will ring clear as a bell in your spirit. Number 9, chasing the world instead of the Spirit. My beloved child, listen carefully when I reveal the last habit that dulls your hearing and pulls you away from the flow of my Spirit. This is the habit of chasing the world instead of pursuing the Spirit. This temptation is subtle yet powerful because the world dresses its treasures in brilliance. It offers money, status, possessions, and applause as if they were the highest reward. But hear me, the more you chase the world, the further you drift from my voice. For my voice is not found in endless striving for wealth or validation. It is found in surrender, in obedience, in walking in the calling I have placed upon your life. When your heart is consumed with the pursuit of worldly gain, you leave little room for the whispers of eternity. Success by the world's measure may fill your hands, but leave your soul empty. You may gain possessions, but lose peace. You may achieve status, but remain restless. You may win the applause of men, but live deaf to the sound of heaven. What is the profit of gaining the whole world if your soul is left in famine? I do not despise wealth, nor do I condemn success. But I call you to understand its place. True prosperity does not come from chasing what the world applauds. It comes from aligning your heart with my will. The danger of chasing the world is that it never satisfies. The flesh is a bottomless pit, and no matter how much you pour into it, it always cries out for more. A higher salary, a greater title, a larger house, a louder recognition, it never ends. And in this cycle, you drown out the invitation I give you to step into faith, to trust in purpose beyond material measure. While I call you to take a step of obedience into your divine assignment, worldly ambition shouts for you to take the safer, shinier path that promises applause but not fulfillment. Many have traded destiny for comfort, purpose for profit, intimacy with me for acceptance from the world. But every trade of that kind leaves the soul empty, because nothing temporal can fill the eternal space I designed within you. I am not against your flourishing. I delight to bless my children. I open doors of provision. I grant wisdom to build. I prosper the work of your hands. But I require that your heart seeks me first. When your eyes are fixed on wealth, wealth becomes your master. When your eyes are fixed on me, wealth becomes your servant. The difference is not in the possession, but in the posture. I will add blessings to your life, but they must not replace me as your pursuit. For I have promised, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. This is not a denial of your needs, but a reordering of your priorities. Do you see the contrast? Chasing the world leads to exhaustion, emptiness, and distraction. You run and run, but peace never comes. You strive and strive, but joy remains fleeting. The more you achieve, the more restless you become, because you are feeding hunger with food that does not satisfy. But when you pursue my spirit, you find peace that surpasses understanding, clarity that steadies your heart, and fulfillment that does not fade. When you align with me, blessings come without the sorrow the world attaches to them. You discover that you can prosper without losing your soul, that you can be entrusted with much because your heart belongs to me above all. My child, hear this warning. Worldly ambition is loud. It clamors for your attention. It flatters your ego. It makes promises of security and respect. But its voice is the very noise that drowns out my gentle leading. I may be telling you to wait, but ambition will urge you to rush. I may be telling you to step out in faith, but ambition will insist you cling to the comfortable. I may be telling you to serve in hiddenness, but ambition will push you to grasp for the spotlight. Do not be deceived by its noise. Test every drive against my spirit, and you will see the difference between destiny and distraction. When you quit chasing the world, your ears clear. When you set your heart on me, your discernment sharpens. Suddenly my voice, once muffled, becomes loud and undeniable. You find joy in obedience, even when it does not come with applause. You find peace in my presence, even when the world does not understand. You discover fulfillment in destiny, even when possessions are few. And here is the mystery. When you pursue my spirit, the world begins to pursue you. Opportunities, favor, and provision chase after those who have chosen first to chase after me. You do not need to run after what I already intend to add. Understand this balance. I do not call you to despise money, status, or influence. I call you to steward them rightly. I call you to hold them loosely, never as your source of identity, never as your definition of success. Let your measure of worth be my smile, not the world's applause. Let your ambition be to know me, not to outshine others. Let your goal be obedience, not recognition. For the treasures of this world fade, but the treasures stored in my kingdom endure forever. So quit the habit of chasing the world. Quit exhausting yourself for rewards that cannot fill your soul. Quit measuring your life by titles, by possessions, by applause. Seek me first. Set your heart on the Spirit and watch how everything else aligns. Watch how peace steadies you, how clarity anchors you, how fulfillment floods you. Watch how I add blessings without sorrow, how I provide without the chains of striving. This is my promise. If you seek my kingdom first, I will supply your needs. If you walk in the Spirit, you will not be left empty. If you make me your pursuit, you will hear my voice loud and clear, guiding you step by step. And the more you pursue the Spirit, the more the world, seeing the light within you, will be drawn to what I have placed in you. You will not chase the world. The world will chase you, not because of who you are, but because of the one who lives in you. So, my child, come away from the noise. Do not waste your life in pursuit of shadows. Do not trade your destiny for applause that fades. Do not silence my voice for the clamor of ambition. Set your eyes on me. Seek first my kingdom. Chase the Spirit, and let everything else fall into place. For when you walk in step with me, you will never lack clarity, never lack peace, never lack fulfillment. My voice will be undeniable, and your life will shine as proof that true prosperity comes not from chasing the world, but from walking in the Spirit. My beloved child, hear me as I close this word to you. My voice is not distant, nor has it ever been silent. I have been speaking all along. Yet whether you hear depends on the habits you choose to keep or to release. If you cling to the patterns that cloud your spirit, my whispers will feel faint. But if you lay them down, these 9 barriers that have hindered you, you will discover clarity that has always been waiting. This is my promise. When you release overthinking, negative voices, the grip of the past, the neglect of silence, the craving for human approval, the abandonment of prayer, the chains of unforgiveness, the prison of fear, and the pursuit of the world, you will step into a new season. You will notice a shift. Your discernment sharpened, your spirit strengthened, your heart at peace in ways you cannot explain. You will walk with spiritual confidence, and you will rest in a peace that surpasses all understanding. Remember this truth. Destiny requires alignment, and alignment requires discipline. To live as one of my chosen is not to walk the easy path, but to walk the path that keeps you close to me. The more you choose discipline in these areas, the more clearly you will hear my voice guiding your every step. Now I invite you, if this word has found your spirit, type 777 as a declaration that you are ready for blessings and clarity to flood your life. Share this message so others may be freed as you are freed. Subscribe and remain connected, for I will continue to speak, and I do not want you to miss what comes next. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again, walk in my peace.